it Ms. Gage is in the courtroom?
Yeah.
Don't you have a seat at the table to my left if you want to step forward, ma'am? Go to my left, you can go right there. Yep. Did you review the complaint?
Yeah.
Do you have an attorney at all?
Judge, I'm representing Ms. Gage.
Oh, okay. She's here in the courtroom. I'll call her case then. And make sure you have the mask up over your nose. This is calling case number 2020 CF367, State of Wisconsin. Actually, it's 2020 CM272, State versus Lori Gage. Ms. Gage appears present in the courtroom. Her attorney, Mr. Anderson, appears via Zoom, along with Mr. Lalore. Mr. Anderson, have you received a copy of the complaint?
Yes, I did, Judge. We acknowledge receipt of that document, waive reading, enter pleas of not guilty to each of the 4 misdemeanor counts.
I'll accept the pleas of not guilty. Apparently, she's already scheduled for status conference on October 30th at 10. Is it okay to use that for status conference, Mr. Anderson?
That is our request.
Mr. Lalore, is that okay?
That'd be fine, Your Honor.
All right, then as far as bail goes, what's your request for bail, Mr. Lalore?
Your Honor, the state requests $750 cash, no contact with victim 1 or the address as contained in the identification key. I would note Ms. Gage, this will now be her 4th pending file in Douglas County. The state agreed to a stipulation to a signature bond on her last case when she made an initial during a status conference, based primarily upon Ms. Gage going into treatment that day on August 28th for a period of around 60 days. These allegations now occurred 15 days after she was released on that signature bond. She has 7 files pending in St. Louis County with 18 failures to appear across those files. She has 13 more failures to appear across multiple files in St. Louis County since 2012, 2 probation revocations. Her only convictions in Wisconsin, 2017, 3 counts of credit card fraud. Did not see any failures to appear on that. 2014, resisting obstructing, where she did have a failure to appear. So based upon a lengthy failure to appear record, the defendant's unwillingness, it would seem, to follow court orders, notably not commit new crimes, we think a cash bail is appropriate.
Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Judge. We are requesting a signature bond. At the time of that August 28th court date referenced by Attorney Lalore, I would note that was an out of custody appearance where she had appeared voluntarily. The court ordered a signature bond. She did go into that treatment facility. That did not work for her. She left. She is now seeking other alternatives and is, I think, supposed to start tomorrow at the Superior Treatment Center. Notably, I went through. Well, currently there's 3 pending files in addition to the initial appearance today, 2 signature bonds and $500 cash on one of the files. I did go through my notes. I think since I've been representing her, she's had 9 status conferences, and she has made all of those status conferences on the combination of those 3 pending files. So she's certainly making her court appearances here in Douglas County, and I think a signature bond's appropriate.
Do you mind if I ask if she has the ability to post cash?
No, that's fine.
Ms. Gage, do you have the ability to post any cash bond? Pardon me? Mr. Anderson, can I ask her an address and things too?
Yes.
What is your current address, Ms. Gage?
1023 Hammond Avenue.
And that's in Superior?
Yes.
And how long have you resided there?
For 2 months now.
And what ties do you have to this area? Family?
Yeah, my sisters and my mom, dad, her and 2 others live over here. And I have a couple of sisters over here.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Anderson, regarding bail?
Regarding her address, I couldn't catch if she said apartment number 6 or not.
It's number 10.
Number 10.
Number 10? Okay.
Okay.
All right, I have heard the arguments. I mean, I've got some concerns. She made her court appearances, but also the state lists, I lost count of the number of failures to appear Ms. Gage has. Now we have some new bail jumping charges. I do take into consideration she did make her court appearance today. Otherwise, I think it would be much higher cash bail. Under the circumstances, I'm ordering $500 cash bond. Conditions of bond are no contact with did you say victim 1, Mr. Lalore?
Yes, Judge. And the address.
No contact with victim 1. Was there any other requested conditions, Mr. Lalore?
Just victim 1's address. Otherwise,
And
no.
the address for victim 1. All right, I think that's it. We've got the status conference case. Thank you. And who we have, is it Mr. Cross? All right, this is calling case number 2020 CF382, State of Wisconsin versus Jerry Cross. Mr. Cross appears present in custody via Zoom. His attorney, Mr. Anderson, appears in the courtroom. Mr. Lalore appears on behalf of the state. It's scheduled for an initial appearance. Mr. Anderson, have you received a copy of the complaint?
Judge, I have, but I would first note that we did not hear from Mr. Cross today, so I am not sure if he wants our office to appoint counsel. We have appointed historically for him, but he has not made that request on this case.
Mr. Cross, is this something you'd like the public defender to represent you on? I think it's muted, so somebody there's got to unmute it. It's muted over there. I don't know if anybody can hear me because Mr. Cross is talking, but it's muted. If there's a possibility that he could unmute it so that Mr. Cross could answer whether he wants the public defender to represent him.
Hear us now?
Yep, I can hear you. Mr. Cross, did you want the public defender to represent you?
What is this, some fake ass fucking shit you guys are putting in front of me again? I got mental illness, you dumb motherfuckers. You just fucking throw fake shit in front of me too, huh?
Do you want a public defender to represent you in this proceeding?
I don't know what to fucking say.
We want the public defender.
All right, maybe you want to come back tomorrow and make an
HDC?
appearance, Mr. Cross?
Yes, HDC. I want HDC to represent me or somebody. This is ridiculous.
Okay.
This is nothing but a fucking lie.
Mr. Anderson, what do you think?
My audio seemed to have cut out here.
Yeah, I
Everything looks good on my end, but I'm not hearing anyone right now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's real staticky, but but I can, yes.
Okay, yours is a little staticky too. I just don't know what to do with Mr. Cross.
I lost you again.
Any suggestions on what we do with Mr. Cross? Can you hear me, Mr. Anderson?
Can you hear me, Fritz?
Yeah, you break up a little bit, but I hear you the best.
Huh. Any suggestions, Mr. Anderson, what to do with Mr. Cross?
Did he require counsel?
He wanted somebody from HDC to represent him.
Can you hear that, Mr. Anderson?
I'm afraid of that.
He stated he wanted somebody from HDC to represent him, and then there were a bunch of profanities uttered.
Okay. You know, in reviewing past files before court or on CCAP, it appears competency where it was raised in the past in branch one. I don't know. I wasn't representing him or involved, so I don't know what the result of that was. But it certainly flags a concern.
Mr. Lillard, what's your suggestion?
I was involved in those prior cases, and I think they were in your branch, Judge. And at that time, anyway, Mr. Cross was found competent to proceed and ultimately pled on those cases. So I guess I don't have sufficient information at this point to necessarily raise competence on regarding the defendant. I would, I guess, if nothing else, request we set bail conditions and adjourn the initial appearance to tomorrow to see if we're able to accomplish it then, if he's cooperative.
I guess what I'm inclined to do is I'll just adjourn his initial appearance tomorrow to see if he's any better and can give us a more definitive answer about an attorney. I know Mr. Anderson now blinked off. Maybe you could also ask the public defender's office if they could just run by or see if he's requesting counsel.
Judge, I'm still here. I just turned off the video momentarily while I changed position to see if that helped or not.
Are you on Wi-Fi, Mr. Anderson?
I am.
Yeah, that might be the reason why we're all hardwired here.
Okay. Yeah, I think I just improved my situation. I haven't had an issue with this before, so.
Okay. I just adjourned the initial, and maybe you could ask the jail or somebody to make an inquiry whether he's requesting an attorney, and in the meantime, Mr. Lillard, maybe he becomes more cooperative by tomorrow. But alternatively, if he's not, maybe that is something we'll have to look into as competency or not. What do you think, Mr. Lillard?
I would not disagree with that.
And you might get reports from the jail with more information that would give you the ability to look at competency if that's truly an issue. Does that make sense, Mr. Anderson?
Yes, it does.
Okay. I think that's it. And then we have one more in jail that was Ms. Defoe for a bail hearing. Are you handling that, Mr. Anderson, or is Ms. Craker?
I am. Yeah. So she's represented by Ms. Craker. It's my understanding that Ms. Craker had inquired with your office about scheduling a bail hearing and it got put on for initials today. And she didn't have time then to file a petition, and she is unavailable to be here at this hearing. So I was going to cover the hearing for her, but there's nothing filed.
All right, I'll call the case then. This is calling case number 2020 CF367, State of Wisconsin versus Carrie Defoe. Ms. Defoe appears via video from the jail. Mr. Anderson appears specially representing Ms. Defoe for this bail hearing. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see who it was there. I guess Mr. Smallwood, my bad. We'll go back on this one. We'll call case number 2020 CF365, State versus Javon Smallwood. Mr. Smallwood appears via video teleconferencing from the jail. Mr. Anderson appears as attorney via Zoom. Mr. Allure appears on behalf of the state. It's scheduled for a bench warrant return. Based upon the appearance, I'll quash the warrant. As far as the complaint goes, Mr. Anderson, have you received a copy of the complaint?
I did. Judge, we did not hear from Mr. Smallwood today. I represented him in the not too distant past. I assume he's going to want counsel on this. There's also a probation hold. So it's a situation where he's not going anywhere for the foreseeable future. So I'm guessing he qualifies for us. So we can double check, but I think Mr. Smallwood is going to want representation and that he will qualify for our services.
All right, I can ask him here quick. If we can unmute Mr. Smallwood, I'll just ask him if he wants Mr. Anderson to represent him. Mr. Smallwood, did you want Mr. Anderson to represent you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, Mr. Anderson? Mr. Anderson, did you receive a copy of the complaint then? Can you hear me, Mr. Anderson?
Mr. Anderson, can you hear the court?
No, I did not catch that. Did Mr. Smallwood want counsel?
He said you could appear specially, yes.
Okay. We do acknowledge receipt of the complaint, waive reading, enter plea of not guilty to count 3, and request a preliminary hearing.
All right, I'll accept the pleas not guilty. I'll schedule the matter for preliminary hearing. Prior to doing that, let's deal with the issue of bail. Mr. Allure, what's your request on bail?
The state requests $5,000 cash, no contact with victim 1. It appears he probably has a probation hold on him as well. The basis of the bail request primarily is based upon the nature of the allegations, lack of ties. Mr. Smallwood appears to have an out-of-state address. I would note that he was sentenced in 20 CF 39 on July 13th of 2020 with an imposed and stayed sentence, 2 years of probation. Our information is that he never reported to probation. So that would be our request.
Mr. Anderson?
Yeah, Judge, I don't want to be heard on bail at this time. I don't think bail is going to matter in this case because of the probation situation. If that should change, then we can address that at a later date.
All right, I'll order 5,000 cash then, no contact with victim 1, and preliminary hearing, I don't have the board. Madam Clerk, do you have the board? Oh, we'll have to get the board for prelim. How about next Wednesday at 10:45?
That's fine.
Should be fine with the state.
Next Wednesday at 10:45 for preliminary hearing. I think that's it on this case.
The only one?
We-
That goes in the jail.
Yeah, I might have.
Okay. When this one's done, get that one back too. After I drop them off.
And the other ones, I guess we just, default 60 days to pay because nobody else showed up. All right, this is calling case number 2020 CF 367, State of Wisconsin versus Carrie Defoe. Ms. Defoe appears present via video from the jail. Mr. Anderson is appearing specially on her behalf. Mr. Lalore appears on behalf of the state. It's scheduled for a motion for bail modification. Mr. Anderson? Did you hear me, Mr. Anderson?
I can now.
Okay.
Yeah, so, Judge, it's my understanding. It's my understanding Ms. Defoe has been in custody since the 29th of September. She's unable to make the $1,500 cash bail that was imposed. It's my understanding there was a warrant from Minnesota with an extradition, that she's waived extradition. A primary concern for her is she had a husband at home with stage 4 cancer and is simply not able to post cash bail, and is very concerned about the situation with her husband. So she is, I believe, asking for a reduction to signature bond. I haven't had contact with her personally to know if she has any ability to post cash bail.
Mr. Lillard?
Your Honor, the state opposes a modification of the bail. While Ms. Defoe does not have any prior convictions in Wisconsin, she does have a number of prior convictions in the state of Minnesota. Most recently, September of 2019, threats of violence as a felony. She had 3 failures to appear in that file, as well as 2 failures to appear for the PSI. She was on felony probation for that case at the time of the offense that she is in court for now. Prior to that, she had an aggravated robbery in the 1st degree, 2010 in St. Louis County, with a stay of imposition. She was revoked 24 months later, then ordered to probation, and had 4 more violations while on probation, although she was not revoked from that. She has a pending matter in St. Louis County, domestic abuse, no contact order, a Danko case, pending disposition that had a failure to appear August 20th of this year. A warrant was issued on that as well. So based upon all those factors, and I believe she has a Minneapolis address, we're showing lack of ties to Douglas County. Certainly the state would be opposed.
Yeah, under the circumstances, I also got a letter from Ms. Defoe that I took into consideration. Hopefully the parties that are getting it electronically, I certainly empathize with Ms. Defoe entirely, but what I count, that was 6 or 7 failures to appear. She's got warrant out of Minnesota, or 2 warrants out of Minnesota. She's just not a good flight risk under the circumstances. So the motion for bail modification is denied. I feel bad for her. If the reality was, the standard was, let her out because of what's going on with her husband, I say let her out, but that's not the standard. The standard is whether or not she's a flight risk, and she's a substantial flight risk. So the motion's denied. Thank you. I think that's all we have.
Thank you.